Alright, bastards, today we're going to talk about bartering, but we're going, instead of now, most people talk about what kind of items you should stockpile for bartering, but not many people talk about how you should barter, because that's actually a point that is something that you really need to think about. Uh, Somebody replied to my video about what items would I stock for bartering, and the person brought up an interesting point. He said that it's very dangerous to barter. People would follow you home, and they will know they will measure up what kind of stuff you have, and so they will rob you later on or something like that. That's actually a very good point. That's why I'm going to make this video about bartering. Um, there are several ways you can start to barter after or during a disaster, because yeah, there could be a financial crisis, like a black market. There could be war, uh, after a natural disaster. Shit hit the fan in the worst case scenario. So how would somebody barter if you are stockpiled on stuff? First of all, why should you barter? Well, I would say barter is something that you should do only out of necessity. Imagine I have all these stockpiles. I'm prepared, but there is a certain item I don't have that is very difficult to get. Like imagine my partner, my child, or me. We are getting somebody of us got a cut or a wound or a sickness that turned into an infection that could turn out deadly, which is very likely in a shitty defense situation. So I will need antibiotics, but I don't have antibiotics, so I will have to barter with somebody. That's a way. That's a reason why you could barter. So another reason to barter is to help other people while also helping yourself. Actually, if you're going to barter, that is one of the points about bartering. It should be bartering should be done in a safe environment. What do I mean by that? There are two ways you can barter on a safe manner. First of all, you barter only with people you trust and know, like family, friends, or your neighborhood or community. If you're on good terms and you have a good, solid community that still knows each other, so that's a good way in to build up trust for bartering. So there's less likely chance that somebody that you bartered with will try to come after your supplies later on, because uh, yeah, I don't I yeah, I don't say it doesn't happen, but I imagine that people you know are less likely to rob you than people who never met you before. So that's one thing. The second thing, second safe place to barter is at a regulated place. What do I mean by that? It can be after a disaster, it can be in a wartime, but there is something about humans that will come together to do some trading and under a certain set of rules. In any time in history, this happened. In any town, this happens. There is a market. Now, what is a market? A market is a regulated place that is under some sort of control by someone. Yeah, most people would say, I will not go to a market because they will take a cut of my profit or something. But think about it, what you get into in return. A market is a centralized place where other people who are going to barter or sell their goods come together, and they have a way to protect their goods and their interests. The market is a place where usually there's some sort of control, like perhaps there is police or a militia, a guard, somebody who will, certain persons who will watch out against thieves, robbers, gangs perhaps, even though a market can be run by a gang. That gang has its own interest that the profits they will get from protecting a market will keep flowing. So even then, there will be some, even if it's one guard, some sort of protection against thieves, robbers, and etc. So that's something to think about bartering after a SHTF in a certain way. Another thing is how do I say this best? Prices, because if you only have certain amount of stuff and other people have bought that same sort of product in masses, so that person can sell it cheaper or something, so he can get more profit of it, or get a monopoly on it. That's a capitalist way to look at it. Yeah, the person who can customers will go to the guy who can sell it cheap. But markets and guilds are usually set at a certain price. So a guy who sell a loaf of bread cannot sell it. If everyone agrees, we will only set it to a maximum price for for food staples that everyone needs, like grain, rice, bread, all those things that are everybody eventually needs, because otherwise you get chaos if there is not a certain price agreed under all the people who will barter. You will get chaos and you will get people who cannot afford to buy the basic necessities, and those people will be more likely to steal or rob for those things. So in order to assure some sort of a basic level of peace and order, there should be some on certain products, some restriction on how much or low you can ask. So that's something also a benefit of a certain type of regulated marketplace. If it's a market in a village, if it's a market in a big city, if it's even an underground market that is regulated by gangs, they don't want to be undercut by some other gang that will start to get into their territory or deal. So those are things you need to look out for. So now that what I would not recommend is for bartering. You will probably see this if you have been traveling around in places where there are many tourists. You will notice that there are some sort of marketeers or people selling goods on the streets without official authorization. You know, the types who keep everything in a box or onto a box. They sell it to tourists, and for the moment they see police, they close the box and they get out and start somewhere else where the police is not yet patrolling at that moment. So that's a way of some sort of way of black market. You can try it, but like I said before, like I mentioned before, you will be more vulnerable to authorities who you in a certain way undermine. You are more prone to be robbed or to be extorted or to be the victim of thieves. Yeah, and yeah, you have less likely chance to be bought, because when there is a market, you as a customer and you want something, you would rather go to a market where you think, the products are in a way regulated, so it's safer to buy there than some guy on the court in an alley or in a corner who is like open his jacket and have all these things to sell that might be fake or of less quality. So a market and a guild is also a way to regulate public safety in the words of safety of the product, that it's up to date, that it's not rotten meat or flour you sell. And yeah, that's a way that I will always look at it like a medieval market. Guilds regulated the place, they had some sort of security, like a few guards against thieves. They inspected everybody who is bartering or have a market for, first of all, be let her in for officially for in exchange for a cut, and to control that they are not ripping off customers to give the market a bad name, or to inspect the goods that they are not selling, like I said, rotten food. So those are the mechanics of even a small market that you prefer, that I would prefer to be selling my bartering or stockpiles if I need something else instead of doing it in the streets or in an alleyway. So those are perhaps the reason how you should barter. If you're going to barter, yeah, like I said, you can do it with people you know and trust. Just face to face, come to their house and exchange goods. But if you're going to barter at the marketplace, you have to be prepared. Why? Because yeah, you. It's not only you only not only busy with your how do we say it, your place where you're selling, but you also provide cover and eyes and some sort of security for the person who's selling next to you. So if you have to go take a shit or need to take a wee, then you can ask to the other person, the other marketeer, that, oh, can you watch this for me, that nobody steals from it? And yeah, it might sound naive, but that's the way our markets work, because if that guy does that for you, you will do it for him. There is some sort of a mutual benefit in watching each other to run everything smoothly. So the same thing for security. If you see that somebody steals from another guy's place where he sells his goods, and you see somebody take something or steal something, and you call it out for, that person will be that other marketeer will be grateful for it, and will also watch your stuff. So it's a mutual benefit in a certain way to be in a regulated marketplace. So if you're going to a marketplace, there are several ways you can do it. The best way I would advise is like this. If you can perhaps see this. This is my cards that I can attach to my bike, but yeah, my bike doesn't fit in my porch. But like you can see, it can take a lot of weight with it. I have here 5 times 5, 25 kilos of rice, 5 bottles of water, plus more bags that you can take. So that way you can transport more of your stockpiles, and yeah, perhaps sell more or sell bigger to get a more profit, or build or get how do you say this, something more valuable in return. Like if you only have 1 bag of rice, you cannot exchange that probably for antibiotics. So, but if you have a few bags of rice and you need something life-saving like antibiotics, that way you can exchange for that. So that's a certain way to do it. And another how do you say it? Another benefit of this is if you have a card, especially when you lock it in place with a how do you say this, with a padlock or something to the wheels. When somebody is trying to steal your stuff, you cannot just take the whole card and run away with it because you locked it, or it's too big and heavy to get away in a full market. So that's another benefit from it, and it's a good way to store your goods, showing it to the people to whom you are willing to barter. And yeah, that way there is also a possibility that you have to leave quickly because it perhaps could be raining, there could be become a certain storm, perhaps there is some troops movement or some altercation happening during a wartime, and you need to get out of there. You cannot leave your stuff behind. You can take this and just walk away with it, with all your stuff, without the risk to leave it all behind and lose everything. So that's a certain benefit of having a card. You can do it you can bind it on a bike. You can take it just by hand and walk with your legs with it. So that's a good benefit of a card. Another thing that you can do is just sell it in a bag. The same thing applies for, it's in a smaller scale, but it's the same as a card. You can just lay it on the ground, open your I will first have to open this. Perhaps you can say open it and show to people what you are willing to barter. And when you need to get away very quickly, you can just zip it, put it in your bag, and just get away out of danger zone without losing your stuff. What actually is a more danger about the backpack is when there is a bold thief, he can just smack you in the head and take your bag on their back, how do you say this? Take your backpack, put it on their back, and just get away. But like I said, if you're in a certain marketplace where there are other people bartering, they will watch out for those. They will try to hold thieves in hope that other people will do the same thing as if their stuff gets stolen. So a backpack is also a good way to barter your items. Yeah. Another thing that is a good way is, if you can see it, just lay your shamak open on the ground and show the stuff that you're willing to sell, just the same way like in a market. Show what you got and try to barter with it. And if you need to get away, like I said before, there is storm, weather, rain, or an altercation that you need to get away, or just need to package up easily, you can take the shamak and just take it, and you have all your stuff, and you can just walk away with everything in hand. So that's another way to show your goods for bartering in a public space. If you're going to barter, another thing you can barter is food, but yeah, you can perhaps earn a living in a certain way by bartering food that you cook. So that's why I like this. Like I showed before, this is my wood stove. Like you can see, this is the pipe. This is the where you put the wood in. You can fold everything. You can take the pipes, take them apart, put them here in, fold up what's the name? The support beams, collapse it, and then you only have this thing to carry and perhaps some wood. And if you're on the market, you can just try to sell some cooked items, like I say, with rice. You can just sell regular rice, but if you are able to cook rice and sell it on the market, that way you can ask even more for it, because you did a service, and you can ask more in return for it. So just you can cook perhaps some meat. So if you got a meal or a flour, you can buy simple sorts of breads in a very quick way. The fuel you can use some woods that people leave behind, or you got a stockpile of from somewhere very cheap. Let me say it's easier to find firewood that's got thrown away by companies, people who did works in their houses, or some branches that people don't want or to use. You can try to use that as a cheap fuel to cook something in a marketplace. And like I said, with this kind of stove, you can just set it up really easily, make a small fire, cook it something, and you can earn away that way as bartering. Like I said, you can cook rice, bread very easily, or you can make something that, if you have in your barter items stockpile coffee or tea, you can sell a hot cup of tea. I can guarantee you, if there is a marketplace, people will come together and they will see it more as a social event, and they will try to drink some of it. So a way to make some tea or coffee could be very handy to barter and make even a living, not a real living, but earn something extra as an income when times are hard. So those are ways to barter. If you have a Berkey filter, or just a regular filter, or perhaps you can boil water on this, you can safely sell water to drink. People will always need something to drink, especially in SHTF times. There will be no plastic bottles or Coke vending machines and that sort of things. So if you can prove to the customers, I bought this water right in front of your eyes, so it's very safe to drink. And other marketeers, even other marketeers, will perhaps buy a few drinks because they are standing a whole day and perhaps they want some tea, coffee, or just to drink some water to be hydrated. So that's another way to, in a certain way, to barter. So yeah, those are all just topics about bartering. Something else that not many people really talk about when they talk about bartering is how do you measure, how do you barter? Because yeah, this is all in separate containers and bags. But yeah, actually, how do you measure something? Because some people will say, I got this kind of medicine. How much do you want to for that kind of product? And how much do you want to sell it for? That's kind of something to judge by yourself or at the moment. It's something a way of negotiating prices till you find a certain point that both parties agree. But to if you're in a regulated market, it's handy to always have some way to measure. This is waiter. How do you say this in English? Uh, a little machine to weigh how much something how much mass or weight there is. Like you can see, this is a mechanical thing and not an electric thing that needs batteries. So have a way to have a certain amount of to weigh something, like I said, to be more honest and more be trusted by your customer if you're going to barter. The same thing, perhaps you have a scoop like this that you can use. You can say, I will give you 2 scoops of this certain amount that is pre-weight, that is as a certain measurement, or you can use cups or something else that is has always the same kind of mass that you cannot cheat with it. So that's something else you need to think about bartering. It is I would suggest to look up about how people in the past now were bartering and use marketplaces, how they would run it, and especially in hard times. Perhaps read about biographics about black markets in the future, or perhaps during World War II or something. It gives you an insight on how people and mechanics works, the psychology of it. Learn the tricks of marketeers to entice your customer to buy from your stand, to say, or how to build relationships, because you want to be trusted. So you can. Many people think marketplaces are just full of cheats, but imagine if one person cheats you, that's a customer you lose. And if you're always at the same place, that's if you cheat that same customer, that will probably come back multiple times. He will have enough of it, and he will call in the security from the marketplace, or he will pay you a visit with a knuckle sandwich. So that's something to think about bartering in hard times. So yeah, that's a certain way to look at it. I think. Oh wait, one more thing. I would suggest, if you're on the market, yeah, other marketeers can provide security and overwatch against thieves and robbers, but never go to such a market unprotected. I would say, I do not say you have to hold an AK the whole time around, because that will, a certain way, scare away customers or something. But always look like you're capable of returning. Always be friendly. Do a show of force to show thieves and robbers that you're not to be messed with. What you can do is, instead of branching a firearm, branching something that is non-lethal, because yeah, it's kind of dangerous if there's a market and somebody steals an apple or a bottle from you. What are you going to do? Shoot in a crowd in hope to hit that one thief and piss off customers who you shot, or the family, or other marketeers who you now have beef with. So have some non-lethal way. Have some pepper spray have a baton, a nice stick, which is also handy because the moment somebody tries to steal, you have still a chance to, with this hook, to grab a hold and pull them back. Or if you're after them, you can still try to hook onto their jacket or something. So that's a certain way to defend your stand in for bartering. Another thing is robbers, because if you look at security footage or other of those shocking footage that has been made with cell phones or something, robbers they are not the typical like you see in westerns, wanna give me your money, give me everything, and they ride into the sunset with their heads in the air. No, robbers are usually more discreet. They will come close to you and they will try to get out of sight of the other marketeers or other people, and they will try to get you alone. That's why it's dangerous to do bartering on your own and not in groups. Very good to think about, to have another person, like even if it's your child or a family member or your a friend. It's perhaps better to be with two in a marketplace than alone. But if you don't, and somebody is trying to rob you with a weapon, always have a way to defend yourself. Have a gun or have another, how do you say this, hidden weapon. Like I said, you can do a show of force with something simple like a baton that you will have ready. But if somebody gets to drop on you, he will make sure that you do not get that weapon. You can still have a weapon on your body. In this case, I have here my karambit ready under my jacket, and if somebody is threatening me and getting closer, losing his guard because he's looking at the spoils that he's about to get, you can just with this you can just, and that way you have already drawn your weapon and you could cut that person. So that's just a way to think about bartering. These were some ideas that I got on how to do it, and to be honest, I do not hear many other preppers talk about this subject in that way about this subject. So I hope I inspire other people to talk about, have a debate, spreading ideas around that will improve the way we think about these things. Yeah. So this was my rant. Yeah, perhaps part 2 about bartering. I would like to ask to subscribe, like, leave a reaction if you have any other ideas about bartering after SHTF. Give a like and all that good stuff. So thank you for watching, and see you next time. Thank you.